What's up, everybody? Being punctual, on time, because today we have the second installment of Donald Trump's interview with Laura Ingraham. So we're going to go to that. I've got it queued up. As soon as he comes out for the second part of that interview, we're going to have a little short watch party. I bet you, given how they do, wait a minute, this might be it right here. Hold on.
If and when they catch the people, and I hope they do. The good thing is they have a lot of cameras in those places, and they've caught some already having to do with that. I think that you will find out that they're paid by people that are very highly political on the left.
Attorney General Pam Bondi is ready to pounce.
All right, so no, she's not ready for it. This is just her promo, her intro into it. She says part 2 is moments away, which we will go to as soon as he's ready to go. And then I'll follow up on afterwards with my part of everything. So hope you guys are doing okay this evening. Yes, I am still battling a cold. Yes, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Definitely not as bad as what we're seeing in the news today. Let me be, and tonight what I'm going to try and do is bring some spirits up. Let people feel a little bit more, upbeat about things, because it's looking dismal to a lot of people. I get so many emails, I get so many texts from people like, these judges are just, it's just horrible, and, I don't think he's going to be able to overcome this stuff with these judges. And it does look bleak in that regard. I got a piece that I'm going to show you where a poll came out where it's like 90% of people said, do not ignore the judge. It would look unfavorable if you started ignoring the judges. But and if you've seen it today, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm pretty sure, like we did with the election polls, you didn't dig in like I showed you. There's a bit of information that you need to dig into that poll that I'm going to show you, because once again, they're lying to you. And I'm not saying they're lying to you in terms of the numbers, which I kind of believe they are. What I'm saying is the entirety of that poll that was put out saying that Trump, that people wouldn't look favorably if Trump began ignoring stuff, that could be problematic, because I'm going to show you why it's problematic as well. And then after Laura's interview with President Trump, then I've got a short bunch of videos I want to leave you with that keeps you kind of upbeat. Right now, she's talking about the Tesla terrorism on the rise. Those of you guys who have been following things, it's all over X. People are setting cars on fire. They're actually shooting up dealerships. They're keying cars. They've lost their complete minds. Absolutely have lost it. And I know I'm one of the ones who keeps saying we're in a civil war, but hey, we very well might be in this civil war. They are acting like it. They are out there doing offensive things. They are showing their predicate for future violence. You got Rick Wilson out there, who is from the Lincoln Project, actually calling for people to attack Tesla and Tesla dealerships. I saw today, I don't know if I should bring it up, I saw today where somebody is planning an actual, well, I don't know what they're planning, but they're planning to go to a Tesla dealership and wreak havoc. They actually posted it. Could not believe that they actually posted that and let people know that this is what they had planned. Let me bring that up so you can see that as well, because it's pretty crazy. Where is it? I should have it. There it is. Okay. This is from Libs of TikTok while I continue to monitor the screen. Leftist activist group Indivisible Tennessee, whatever the hell that means, and it's amazing how they think up these names, is promoting a, quote, Tennessee Tesla takedown this weekend. Look out for more terrorism. Here it is from the Indivisible Tennessee. All right, folks, weather's looking good for this Saturday. We're going to do this. Tesla takedown, March 22nd, 2025, 1 o'clock p.m., Memphis, Franklin, Chattanooga, Knoxville. So they're planning on attacking Tesla dealerships in these 4 cities in Tennessee: Memphis, Franklin, Chattanooga, and Knoxville. I'm pretty sure they might get their feelings hurt in 3 out of 4 of those places. Chattanooga, Knoxville, and maybe Franklin. Memphis, y'all know about Memphis. I ain't gonna worry about Memphis. But in any event, they're begging for something to happen. I mean, this is absolutely insane. A Tesla takedown? Is this really where you want to take this after people have seen shots fired, cars burned? You don't think they're going to be on guard? You think they're just going to let you waltz in there and, have your way with the Tesla dealership? If the police in Tennessee were smart, here's what they would be doing. If the people in Tennessee were smart, they'd drive up a couple of huge ass paddy wagons and just have them ready. Just sit there. You can stay on the sidewalk. That's where you're allowed to protest. And the instant that somebody steps on private property, lock them up. Just be ready. Just stand there. As long as you're on the sidewalk, and also don't go in the street and impede traffic, just stay on the sidewalk, you're fine. You're having your peaceful protest. But don't step onto the property. If I was running the police squad, if I see so much as your shoelace touch the private property, I'm locking you up. And don't think you're going to throw something. And definitely don't think you're going to accost me. I'm not going to take your crap. I don't get paid to take your crap. So I hope that these people at this Tesla dealership are ready for this. Now, this is very interesting. Very, very interesting. The president of the Congo just offered ownership of some of his country's $24 trillion in minerals in a plea for President Trump to bring peace to the region. We think the United States of America, given its role and influence around the world, is an important partner to have, and we're very happy to see that with the Trump administration, things are moving a lot faster on both sides. Most people don't know why the whole conflict in Congo started, but long story short, Felix Tshisekedi is a weak puppet who has allowed the country to be looted by Europe and now China. At the same time, he has permitted the FDLR, a group with close ties to Rwandan genocide, which the U.S. has identified as responsible for many killings in eastern Congo, to operate, which Rwanda is rightfully concerned about. Tshisekedi is a corrupt pawn that the globalists have used to do their bidding. But if somehow someone could put this guy in his place, it'd be Trump. And so he was on Brett Baer's show, and he's showing they are mineral rich. They have $24 trillion in minerals. However, the population lives on just $2.15 per day, which is completely incongruous. Doesn't make any sense. How can you be worth or have this kind of basis, that kind of money, and yet be completely dead-ass broke? Tells me there's a whole lot of mismanagement and warlords are doing different things. And if you're waving a $24 trillion flag in front of Donald Trump, something tells me you might get his attention. You might get some serious attention. How much? 24 trillion. How much we get? How much we gonna get from that? Fitty fitty? Let me know how much of 24 trillion I get. Because if I get even like 30% of that 24 trillion, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna build an Air Force base. We're going to just cordon off a whole area. I'm going to bring some F-16s. I'm going to be some drones. We're going to build some hotels. We're going to do everything out here in the Congo. And we're never going to have to fire a shot because we've seen what's running around those jungles. That ain't going to be much of a problem. We can clear this out. I can have the land done in about 24 to 48 hours. Bulldozers, chop it down. Trump Town, right there. 24 trillion? First thing I got to do is I got to send over some geologists. They're going to do some drilling. They're going to check out some samples. They're going to make sure that, you really got what you got. But is anybody watching this video right now not just like salivating if this guy is waving a $24 trillion flag in front of Donald Trump? And is she ready now? No, not yet. She's almost ready. She's talking to him about something else. I'll let you see this preview real quick.
Only the worst of the worst,
They're going
or
first.
anyone who's here illegally, who came here illegally, should self-deport and then try to come back.
They're going first. The hard-line criminals, and we're finding them. But obviously, they're going first, and we'll go through the process. And I don't believe it's 12. I think it's 21 million people, by the way. I really do. I think it's 21, including so-called gotaways. Nobody has any idea. We had people pouring through our country, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. You could look at them and say, this is going to be trouble. And they just were allowed to come into our country. Tom Homan and Christie have done a fantastic job.
And joining me now, Trump border czar Tom Homan. Well, high praise, Tom, from the president last night in our interview. Or perhaps even stopping the deportations that you have lined up and ready to go.
No, we're out there arresting people every day. We're doing several operations across the country right now, including TDA. So we're going to keep arresting them, we're going to keep detaining them, we're going to keep removing them. We're not slowing down. We're keeping President Trump's promise. And I appreciate President giving me a shout out, but I want to give a shout out to men and women of the Border Patrol, men and women of ICE who are out there wearing that badge and gun, doing the job every day. God bless them.
Tom, when you first heard that Judge Boasberg had ordered the deportation to El Salvador of the Tren de Agua and the Venezuelans that you guys decided had to go, when you first heard that ruling came down, what went through your mind?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe there was any judge in the country that would want terrorists, a plane turned around over international waters, and return.
What I said when my mic was off is I'm going to play Tom Homan because I think you guys want to hear him. So that's why there was no mic.
Have raped and murdered women. They're gang members. They have taken over apartment buildings. They have caused havoc in our cities. They have pushed in fentanyl that killed thousands of Americans. These are significant public safety threats, significant national security threats, and for any judge to say, I want them back in the United States, just don't make sense. President Trump, by proclamation, he invoked his authorities under Alien Enemies Act, which he has the right to do. TDA is an enemy of this country. TDA is an arm of the Maduro regime that sent these people here to destabilize this country through fentanyl and violence. We did the right thing. We removed bad people from this country, and that's what American people want us to do.
Tom, how many others, if you could ballpark it for us, just in a wild approximation, how many others would you like to send, do you think, to El Salvador?
There's thousands, and I don't have an exact number because here's the problem. We got 2.2 million gotaways under Joe Biden, and that's what we know of because there's a video or drone sensor or some sort of camera traffic showing they entered the country weren't encountered. But the unknown gotaways, we don't know how many of them is. But look at the 2.2 million known gotaways. We don't know who they are, where they came from, why they're here. So we don't know what that number is. So that's why we're out there every day hitting the streets trying to find these people.
AOC, your buddy, recently had a few choice words to say about you, Tom. Watch.
Every time you see Tom Homan on Fox News, every time you see these law enforcement officials doing flashy television interviews, understand that they are taking attention and focus and real dollars and real resources away from actual drug enforcement, trafficking enforcement, actually going after and actually trying to investigate really harmful activity that is happening.
Tom, your response to her.
Look, I take pleasure in the fact I can live in her mind rent-free every day. That means I'm over the target. That means I'm making a difference. Bottom line is, she needs to look at the data. ICE is out. We've already arrested more criminal illegal aliens in 6 weeks than the Biden administration did in a year. The border is sealed, 96% decline in illegal immigration. And when 96% less people are coming across that border, how many children aren't dying? How many women aren't being sex trafficked? How many known suspected terrorists aren't getting in the country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting in to kill Americans? This administration has done more for the safety and security of New York than she's ever done or ever will do. So we're going to keep doing what we do. I'm not running a popularity contest. If she don't like me, I'll wear that as a badge of honor. That means I'm doing the right thing.
Tom, as always, great to see you. Thank you so much. All right, ahead, is Donald Trump ready to deport more of those pro-Hamas agitators on college campuses? Part 2 of my exclusive interview with the president. Next.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't have my mic on. I was bringing stuff in, but I figured once I saw his face there, that's something you want to take a listen to. Now, earlier I was talking about the Congo. King Trump over there getting trillions of dollars. I was able to load in the Congo guy. He got a minute and a half, which I'm sure will have a minute and a half of commercials. So let's listen in to what the guy in the Congo said about President Trump going over there and dipping into that $24 trillion. Listen to this.
Can you talk about the discussions for a deal with your country?
Très bien, merci. Thank you very much. Good evening to you. We are looking for partnerships, and we have established partnerships with many other countries, and we think the United States of America, given its role and influence around the world, is an important partner to have. And we are very happy to see that with the Trump administration, things are moving a lot faster on both sides.
Untapped deposits are worth an estimated $24 trillion. What would you need to happen to move forward with that relationship?
We want to extract these minerals, but also process them, as this would create a lot of jobs. And we want a partnership that will provide lasting peace and stability for our countries, which we need.
It's a dangerous place, the Congo. How would a U.S. company guarantee safety on the ground?
We can build our defense and security capabilities. And I think that the U.S. is able to use either pressure or sanctions to make sure that armed groups who are in the DRC can be kept at bay.
I don't know about you, but I think for $24 trillion, depending on the split, yeah, it might be worth going into. I'm not looking to take the United States into war. I'm not looking to see any soldiers have to engage with warlords. But for $24 trillion, I mean, how much would we... Somebody said we should take 60, give them 40. But let's say it's even a 30% split. So you're talking about nearly $7 trillion to the United States, and what we'd have to trade off is security. I think that's something to think about. If the minerals are there, if we can extract them, I don't know how much you want to leave up to the Congolese people to actually do the work. We may have to bring over engineers and house them and everything else, but $24 trillion is a lot of ducats. I mean, like a whole lot of money. I might have to think about that if I'm Mr. Trump. Mr. President Trump, $24 trillion could really help this country. Really help this country. And you're going to be going up against, warlords that aren't exactly equipped to do battle with the United States military. I can just see it right now. We could probably secure the entirety of the Congo in about a week. And that's including the jungles and the bushes and everything else. But for I'm not trying to be greedy, but $24 trillion is a lot of money. I mean, I could buy a whole lot of bananas. We could do some things. Would you guys want to see us get in bed with the Congolese if it meant that we could, mine these minerals to the tune of trillions of dollars, whatever it is? I am not a geologist, and I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, so I have no idea what it takes to extract this stuff. I have no idea how to value this stuff. I'm going to leave that up to the professionals. But let's just assume, for sake of speaking right now, that everything is valued correctly, that there are indeed $24 trillion of minerals in Congo. What do you think? Would you want to get over there and secure it, make it nice, employ some of the people, put up some schools, bring some food, do like Sam Kinison did? We take people where the food is. To me, it would have to be worth it. I guess we'll talk after this. She's about to go into the second half of the interview. We'll talk about it.
These pro-Hamas agitators, as you did with Khalil from Columbia, was a former student at Columbia. Is there any concern that in a Democratic administration, that same provision could be used to deport more conservative thinkers who are also immigrants to the United States? Let's say they're Chinese freedom dissidents from China or others.
Look, no system is perfect, but you say, as I was with Khalil, well, Khalil's not exactly an easy one either, because some judge, glommed onto him. But think of it. The Democrats lost big, and you look at what's happening with Schumer, but the Democrats lost big because of the stupidity of, they're backing these 90% negative things from their standpoint. Men and women's sports, transgender for everybody, all of this stuff, they're all for it. And they're still fighting for it. But now they have a new one. We're going to back murderers, killers, and people that hate our country. We're going to back people that hate Israel, want to destroy it, people that are murderers, people that are horrible. We're going to back them. I think that might be 100% issue for us. They don't ever find an issue that's like a good
politically issue. Very helpful.
No, politically. I mean, this is not back in Khalil is not a great issue, but back in Khalil is better than back in these other, hundreds of people that are really serious criminals. It's probably a step better than that.
The EB-5 visas, you've spoken about them in the fraud and abuse of that process over years. They're basically immigrant investment visas. $800,000, you can get a fast track to a green card. You don't have to speak English. You don't have to have a special skill, but it's very popular. It's a big long line of people waiting to get these
We're going to have one that's
visas.
much more popular.
But the golden visa, which you're obviously backing, probably is going to have to go through Congress. We'll see if they actually do that. But $5 million investment from a foreigner coming into the United States. Why should our citizenship be purchased for any amount of money, especially given the fact that you're America first, given the types of people who have $5 million to throw down for a visa or for a permanent residency?
That's why, because I'm America first. Because at $5 million, you're getting a lot of things, but you're getting $5 million. Let's say we sell 1 million of them. That's $5 trillion. We are now a unbelievably successful country, paying down tremendous amounts of debt. It's all going to pay down debt. We're going to have very little debt.
Separate fund?
But if you did, think of it, if you did $5 million. Now, generally people that can pay $5 million are going to be job producers, okay? They're going to be successful. They're going to produce jobs. But here's another thing. Apple comes to me. A lot of companies come to me. They say, sir, we just made a deal to hire the #1 student at the Wharton School of Finance or at Harvard Business School or anything else, or MIT or Stanford or any of it. But they're going to throw them out of the country the day after graduation. They'll buy these.
Why should any American kid become a computer
And by the way, they're going to
scientist?
call it either the gold card. The problem is there's many gold cards. Well, I will tell you what my people want to call it. It'll drive you crazy. It'll drive the left crazy. They want to call it the Trump card because the Trump card sells much better than the gold card. Everybody has a
So you're not worried about any unsavory people coming in and taking...
Yeah, I'm worried about unsavory, in which case we're going to...
They're going to be vetted?
Give them the money back and they get out.
They'll be properly vetted.
They're going to be properly vetted, but... when you're talking about a lot of people, I think it's going to be very successful. If somebody's wrong, we actually are very, very nice because it makes it a lot easier legally. We give them their money back and we send them out.
Now, coming up, what President Trump did that made barons say, none of your business. Plus, an exclusive tour of the Oval Office. More of my interview with President Trump and some surprises next.
All right, so when she comes back, we'll jump back in. But I'm seeing some interesting responses from you guys. People are saying in regards to the Congo thing, it's too dangerous. And I think you're thinking, well, it's too dangerous in regards to just people. You're thinking that the Congolese warlords would be a any sort of formidable opponent against the United States military installation? And I'm not saying military installation in regards to like fighting a war, but you don't think that these Bush warlords would be easy pickings if they decide to take on American military? And I understand somebody goes, not if it's one American life. And I understand that. One American life is extremely valuable, but every single thing that we've done, even stuff that's not in time of war, has cost lives. You know, there's oil rigs in the Gulf of America. People died putting those rigs in. There are, I don't know, skyscrapers all over Manhattan. Had nothing to do with war. People died raising those skyscrapers. The Panama Canal. Trump has talked about it. Lots of people died just from malaria. They died in the name of progress, not in the name of war. All those things I just mentioned, none of them were wartime or war deaths. But people died in the name of progress. How many people died building the railroad? I couldn't even venture to say how many people died. There are people who have died building skyscrapers down here. Had nothing to do with a warlord or any interaction militarily. It had to do with progress. So I'm going to repose the question. Somebody who said it's not worth one American life, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but could that possibly be a little short-sighted? Given the trillions of dollars of real estate in this country alone that was built, and while it was being built, people met their end. You could go from state to state, and there are so many skyscrapers all over the country have nothing to do with war. And people died putting them up. There are people who build bridges. And as they're building bridges, they fall into the water and they pass. So rethink that. You know, as the show's getting ready to come back on, you need to rethink that. Not worth one American life, because many, 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 many things over the last 200 years have been built at the cost of American lives. I'm pretty sure there are things in this office right here that were built and available to me because somebody was working on it and gave their life. They short-circuited or something. But that American life that was given to allow us all to do what we do allowed progress. So I understand fully what you're saying. It's not worth one American life. That's a knee-jerk reaction. And then somebody said, well, Barry, you got gold fever working with Lear Capital, whatever, about $24 trillion? $24 trillion is beyond gold fever. $24 trillion basically helps us almost get out of debt. 24, and we're not obviously going to get the entirety of the 24 trillion, but I just want you to think about that. Just what about the poverty of their own people? Well, those people over there in Congo would obviously see some prosperity. If they're working on $2 a day, and all of a sudden now they can work in safe conditions, live in safe conditions, eat food without having to, make dirt cookies, their lives are enriched, and it's not costing us anything. We're not having to send hundreds and billions of dollars of rice and beans over to some third world country. We're like, hey, look, here's an apartment building. What's that? Oh, that's running water. Oh, look at this. You can flush this thing and your poop goes away. Oh, my God. So many things we all take for granted. Then you would be, helping other people while making sure that we're secure as well. Just think about all that together before we just snap and go, I wouldn't do it. 24 trillion is a lot of damn money. It mainly helps the people there more than anything. Yeah. Don't need to put boots on the ground. An AC-130 can't secure the country in a few hours. I hear you there. All right, she's back from break.
The United States in the not too distant future. And there's also talk of a Beijing summit between the two. But what's the truth? Here's more of my interview with President Trump. Is there going to be a summit in June?
It could be. I mean, I wouldn't mind a summit, but there's going to be something else taking place. It's called April 2nd, and that's going to be tariffs. And China will pay, and other countries will pay. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. And on April 2nd, I call it the liberation of America. We've been the fat, dumb, foolish country that allowed everybody to rip us off, including our friends. Look at NATO. Until I got involved in NATO, we were paying for the whole thing practically.
There's a lot of talk about a possibility of a recession, and CNBC had a report from the Fed saying they can't rule it out. It could actually happen. What can you say to Americans tonight who are concerned about the possibility of a recession, given the fact that you're trying to reorient the economy to a manufacturing economy again?
I think if I didn't get elected, our country would be finished to start off with. And I think now that I did get elected, I think we're going to have the strongest economy in the history of the world. And I had that economy in 4 years, with all the harassment, with all the crazy people after me, with all of the things that went on, even with COVID. I had the strongest economy in the history of our country. I had a stock market that went up 88%. 88%, #1 in history. The other markets went up 66%, and I think like 71%.
Will we see a recession in 2025? Are you ruling it out?
We're going to have the strongest economic country in the history of the world, of the planet. We are taking in so much money. Now, some people are unhappy because, it has to come from somewhere. Some of it's going to come from Europe because not everybody's going to be doing as much business maybe in Europe and other places. But I can only speak for the United States, and I am a nationalist, and I'm proud of it. I love this country, and I want to help other countries too. Look, I'm the one, if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't be talking peace in Ukraine and Russia, because they're not Americans being killed. They're Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers, and I'm trying to make peace. And again, it has not that much to do other than we don't want to be paying Bill. Biden spent $350 billion on that war, got nothing for it.
How do interest rates end up going down when we're servicing our debt to the tune of about $1.2 trillion a year, and there's still deficit spending in Congress? How do we do that?
We have to pay off our debt. We have to start paying it off. Look, we're very under-leveraged when you look at the asset value of this country, but we're over-leveraged in terms of cash flow. We're going to have a big cash flow. We're going to take in, for years we allowed our country to be raped and pillaged, terrible expressions. And that's what happened. Much of it was done by our friends. Look at the European Union. We can't sell cars to them, but they sell millions of cars to us. They don't take our agricultural product, but we take theirs. The days are changing. We're not going to let this happen.
It's Barron's birthday on Thursday.
Yes.
And we've all as a country seen him grow up and see him really grow up.
Tall.
How often do you talk to him? Do you talk to him every day?
All the time.
What do you see for
all my kids? I speak to all my kids.
What do you see for his future, given his aptitude in certain areas? Business, politics, what?
I think business, and I think he could probably, if you look at my kids, all of my kids, they've been very good. They're very smart, always good students, always the big schools, the good schools, hard to get into schools. Barron's a very smart guy. But Eric and Don, Tiffany, Ivanka, they're smart people. I'm lucky. Look, you have to be a little bit lucky, too. It's not like that. But they seem to be very smart. Not only seem to be, they are very smart. And they're good kids, and they work hard, and they love our country, and they're proud of their father. And, we have a very good relationship.
You talked the other day about how music was your aptitude as a child, that your father saw that you had a musical aptitude. And so it's kind of obvious in kids early on what they're good at. But is Barron's aptitude, in your view, business or politics?
Maybe technology. He can look at a computer I'd try turning off his car, I'd turn it off, I'd turn off his laptop. I said, oh, good. And I go back 5 minutes later, he's got his laptop. I said, how'd you do that? None of your business, Dad. No, he's got an unbelievable aptitude in technology.
What do you do when you can't sleep? Because you don't sleep. You're like me, you don't sleep at all. I know you just don't need a lot of sleep. But when you can't fall asleep, you wake up in the night, how do you go back to sleep?
Well, the only thing I totally admired about Sleepy Joe Biden is the following. He'd go to a beach. He'd lay down in a cot, barely able to get his feet through the sand. He'd lay down, and within minutes he's sleeping, and you have cameras watching him. I could never do that. I would never be able to sleep like that. That's about the only thing I think that was wonderful. He was a disaster. This man was a disaster. I don't sleep much. You don't sleep much. A lot of people that love what they're doing don't sleep much, I find, and so far it's been okay.
Coming up, President Trump takes us on an exclusive tour of the Oval Office. We weren't expecting it. And yes, I asked about the Diet Coke button. Sorry, but I did. That's next.
Okay, she's on a commercial break, so, yeah, it is what it is. I love, one of the things I love about our community is that we can talk about various issues without people getting pissed at each other and doing certain things. So this whole thing about the Congo, I love the interaction that's happening and what you guys are saying, and I even like what's been happening in the poll. So keep it going. We're going to talk about that as soon as she's done with her interview. Then we're going to come back here and we're going to talk about what you heard. Going to talk about the Congo and then some videos that I want to show you. But really fast, one thing I want to tell you is I hated coffee. All my friends in high school, junior, senior year, they started drinking coffee and I can't stand it. Then I went to college and everybody was drinking coffee and I couldn't stand it. And then throughout my married life, whenever I would travel with Robin, she'd drink coffee. I can't take it. And then she would try different things, make coffee and food. I just couldn't take it. And then as I started doing stuff on this channel to keep up with Donald Trump, I was forced in no uncertain terms to begin to drink coffee. And I love it, the fact that I'm just making sure that they're not coming back on. I love the fact that she kept trying different blends and things of that nature, as they call them. And now I can't do what I do without, 1, exercise, 2, a number of different supplements, and number 3, drinking coffee. At first I had to choke it down, but now I like it, and I like it a lot. And I have to like it because of what I've been doing. Some of the coffee I tried's been decent, but most of it's been trash. But 1775 coffee, it's the one I actually look forward to every morning. And I asked them if they were interested in participating on this channel, and they said yes. So great. So in the morning, I don't like weak brews. I don't like burnt taste, just bold, small batch, single origin coffee that actually delivers. It's got an 85 plus cupping score, meaning it's not just good, it's specialty grade. And trust me, you can taste the difference. Dark roast, you drink that when you need to wake the F up, which I don't really need to wake the F up. I just want to feel cognitive and such. So I don't usually dark roast. Medium roast is like an easy all day go-to type of coffee. The Vitality Mushroom Blend, that's what I need. It's packed with lion's mane, which is proven to help cognitive function, gets the cobwebs out. Hand-picked, roasted fresh, and made for those who stand for hard work, freedom, and coffee that actually delivers. Go to 1775coffee.com, use the code Barry for 15% off, and start your morning with coffee that stands for something. Free speech and America. Oh, and this is the best part, because I love Elon Musk. Every dollar you spend allows you to enter to win a Cybertruck raffle and $30,000 in cash. So make sure you try and go to right there, 1775coffee/Barry, and use the promo code Barry. It's good stuff. I mean, I don't use sugar. So, I don't, and I Robin's got this cream where she puts together, it's like hazelnut or something. So, excuse me if I sound a little foo-foo, but, hazelnut and some 16 Splendas, and then I'm good to go. All right, so we're waiting for him to come back. Laura to come back. And again, I thank you guys for being so cordial. Some of you are firm, but nonetheless, you're talking about the Congo. It is what it is. I understand, and I'm going to take a whole lot of time on it. It just came up. I don't know, maybe because it was $24 trillion. I just can't get out of my head. I mean, it's like they hooked me. $24 trillion. And some people are fast to say it's not worth it. They're like, do you know how much money $24 trillion is? Trillion. Your kids' could realize prosperity. I don't know. That's just that's just how I think. Oh man, what about the Congo being unstable? Somebody says. What about it? You make it stable. All right, she's back, so we're gonna have to talk about this in a second. All right.
The Declaration of Independence, Diet Coke. Yeah, that's a combination I never thought I'd be asking about in the White House. But after our interview in the diplomatic room, President Trump took us on an exclusive tour of the Oval Office. So you brought how many paintings into the Oval Office this time? Very different from the
I'm
first.
I'm going to show you a lot. It's much different, never been like that. You had some of those paintings in vaults and safes for 100 years.
Wow.
They haven't been exposed.
How did you pick?
I went by the presidents. I picked presidents, almost all presidents, some Supreme Court justices. After you.
Are you paving over the grass here?
What was happening is that's supposed to have events. Every event you have, it's soaking wet.
Yeah.
It's soaking wet, and people can't. And the women with the high heels, it's just too much.
That's who did the Kavanaugh.
That's what we
Kavanaugh
did.
thing.
That's right.
Amy Coney Barrett.
And the grass it doesn't work, and we have a gorgeous stone and everything else.
Okay.
But we use it for press conferences, and it doesn't work because the people fall into the, into the wet.
The roses
wet
stay. The grass goes.
The roses stay. No, it's a rose garden. No, all of this stays. Just the center section. I think it's going to be beautiful. I think it's going to be more beautiful. Look at that view over there. See that?
Pretty nice.
Look at that. How is that? Pretty good?
Pretty beautiful.
It's a great place.
So you thought there's no doubt you're coming back into office when you walked out of here.
Well, I felt that, but I didn't know. Let me say it. I didn't know if I was going to run because I knew how much I won that election by. But if I thought I didn't win the election, I absolutely wouldn't have run.
Wow.
But because of the fact I did so well, it was such a horrible.
But if you
election.
didn't run, they would never come after you legally. They never would have done all that to you. If you didn't run, they would have let you alone.
I was told, and so I took a big chance.
Yeah, you sure did.
I took a big risk, actually.
In the mug shot.
Nobody's ever told me that. What you just said, nobody's ever said it. That's exactly correct. If I didn't run, none of this.
Oh, no. They wouldn't have had any investigation. None
Look,
of it would
they
have.
hated me, but you have to get on with your
They'd
life.
be on to the next target.
Right.
They would have been on to the next
Very
target.
interesting. You're right about that.
Yeah. But that's a pretty big that's a pretty big gamble.
That was a big risk. So this is the Oval Office, and we've spent a lot of time and a lot of effort. We've taken a lot of great paintings out of the vault. And I don't know, maybe you could circle that somehow. So here's a question I ask. So Reagan has a place of prominence, and George Washington has a place of prominence. And I've asked this question maybe 200 times. People come in. I said, so who would you put in the place of prominence, George Washington or Ronald Reagan? Who would you put?
Washington.
So far, it's 219-0. And they like Reagan.
Oh, I love Reagan.
But here's what they like more than anything. So this is the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
And they ask that this be done. It's never been up. It's been in the vaults for many, many decades. And they said, we have to do something like drapes or something because the light eventually affects it. And it's very cool.
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that great?
Wow.
Just went up yesterday.
Wow.
Wow.
Think Joe Biden would do this? I don't think so. Do you think he'd think of it? Do you think he knows what it is?
Wow.
No, but look at it. So, but this was, none of these pictures were up. Oh, very few. It's like very little. And it's been great.
Now, there was a lot made on another network about your bringing in the gold accents to Trumpify the Oval Office.
It needed a little life.
So you have the mantle, and you have the cherubs from, is that from Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, that's actually, they're gold, all gold, look. And you know, it's angels. They say angels bring good luck. And we need a lot of luck in this country with what they've done over the last 4 years. So take a look. Do you know that, a little secret, I don't know if you're going to waste your time putting this on, but throughout the years, people have tried to come up with a gold paint that would look like gold, and they've never been able to do it.
Can't do it.
You've never been able, look at that look. You've never been able to match gold with gold paint. That's why it's gold. And this is very important. Very proud of this, Gulf of America. And in fact, Elon said to me, you know, we're landing in the Gulf of America. So he was saying, and he said it naturally. He said it so routinely. He said, yeah, the capsule, you know, is landing in the Gulf of America. So I called Elon, where is it dropping down? He said, Gulf of America. How cool is that, right?
What do you think all these presidents would think right now about
I think
the
they'd
state
be proud
of the
of our country. I think a year ago they would have been disgraced by our country, and I think today they're proud of our country. This is the Resolute desk, by the way. I had that just redone by an unbelievable group. They do only the White House furniture. They do only very special. This is the Resolute desk. Many great presidents sat behind that desk, and many didn't. I mean, you know, they have 7. When you're president, they give you a choice of 7 desks. This is the one.
Why? Why did you want this one?
Just like I like the history. You had Reagan, you had Kennedy. That was the famous one with John, who I knew very well, and he was a friend of mine. He was a great guy. He would have been maybe president someday. He would have been a real chance to be president. He was going to get into politics. He was actually a great guy. John. But remember when he was a young boy, the picture of him at the bottom of the desk?
Where's the Coke button?
It's right here. Everyone
that
thinks that's
on the
the
desk?
nuclear. Everyone
here?
thinks that's the nuclear weapon. They think it's a nuclear weapon. They say if I press this, it's the end of the world.
And then there's like
And it
50,000.
doesn't seem to work out that way.
50.
Doesn't that look beautiful though over there? But
Beautiful.
to me, you know what looks beautiful? The Gulf of America. Look at that.
Which one's better? Which one?
And I'll take the Declaration of Independence. I think so. Isn't that cool?
When's the first time you signed? The way you sign your name, it's just people are so fascinated. But have you had that signature since you were little?
Pretty much, but it's become sharper. In other words, if I look at it from 20 years ago, it was similar, but it was much softer.
And you like when your staff secretary reads out the executive orders to you when you're
No,
sitting
I only
here?
do that for the media, for the fake news.
Okay.
This way, yeah, they read it out. And, you know, I'll do now, because I don't even have to move. I'll do them, I'll sit here, I'll do them. And you can do a lot. They get a kick when I'm doing other work and doing a news conference when you had another guy that couldn't name his favorite ice cream. They always used to ask him, what's your favorite ice cream? Vanilla. Oh, great. He's done a press conference, ladies and gentlemen. It was crazy.
Will you talk to him again, do you think?
Yeah, I'll talk
Joe
to him.
Biden.
Sure.
Do you ever call any former
you
president?
should see-
President? Do you call any of the former
No, not
presidents?
much.
No.
A lot was made out of the fact that I got along very well with President Obama, right? You saw that.
Yeah, it
I
seems
did.
so.
I can, you know, I can do things that a lot of people
You were
can't.
friends with pretty much all of them.
I
At one
just
point.
didn't like the job they did. Because it's not about friends. I didn't like the job they did. They let our country down.
Wow. I enjoyed actually watching that, catching that. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. And remember, this is the people's house. He wants us to be the people's house. That's why the tours are such an important part of this. And that's why he's really looking forward to the 250th anniversary, of course, of our independence. So that's all going to be coming up in his 4 years. And also coming up, as politicians try to sell their masculinity, a famous actor gets his...
All right, so that was the rest of her interview. I actually kind of like that. I kind of like that we saw a different side of President Trump. A lot of people have done interviews, but I've never seen a tour of the Oval Office and how he's decorated and all the different presidents. And when he said the vault, and I'm like, you imagine that there's portraits of presidents from hundreds of years. I mean, the George Washington and Adams and Jefferson, they're all there. And then, of course, the Declaration of Independence. How could that not have been on display? I don't know. You would think that they would have wanted that on display all along, that people could have seen, what was going on with the Declaration of Independence. Matter of fact, I thought it was like in the Louvre or something. I didn't know where it was, or the National Archives, or the Library of Congress. I did not know that it was sitting in a vault inside of the the White House. That's pretty interesting. So anyway, I'm not going to go too much further into the stuff about the Congo. Just a point of thought for us to begin thinking, and I am not at all trying to sell anybody on, hey, yeah, we need to do this or don't do it. I think right now it's something that is something for us to think about, pro and con. And I'm sure Donald Trump will approach it the same way. And I'm sure brighter minds than us are going to sit around and figure out, can we secure it? Can we get the stuff? How do we transport it? Where do we sell it? What do we do with it? I mean, that's a whole other part of the logistics. Okay, so now you've got the rights to $24 trillion in minerals. Great. Now what do? You dig it up, and then what do you do with it? You got to, because it's not here, you got to ship it all the way around the world. Do you sell it? All kinds of questions that I'm sure the brighter minds are going to have to figure out. Brighter minds, much brighter than we are. Well, me. I'm not going to insult you and say you don't have a bright mind, because you probably have a very bright mind. All right, so let's get into what I've got planned for you tonight. And since she's done, and we're going to run through some video here, and we'll take your opinion on what you see. So this is, like I said, I wanted to uplift people today, so I don't think there's anything Democrat-wise in here. This is all about MAGA. What I'm going to show you the rest of the evening is all about MAGA. So, let's get going.
I would say that John Roberts, who I knew before he was a judge, when we both worked in the Reagan administration, it's time to grow up here, Judge. Think about Justice Rehnquist. What would Justice Rehnquist, the Chief Justice, have done when those 4 originalists 2 weeks ago, when this case involving another rogue Democrat judge, ordered the President of the United States to spend money on foreign activities? What would Rehnquist have done? Would he have joined the 4, or would he have joined the radical 3? This is an issue of separation of powers, and if it's not resolved, you basically, in the form of your question, have answered it. How the hell are we going to have 680 individual, unelected federal judges, they're federal district judges, not federal national judges, all sitting there behind their desks with their 2 or 3 clerks saying, I don't like this idea of Trump sending this. I don't like this idea of banning transgender. I don't like this idea. This is exactly what Locke and Montesquieu and Jefferson and Madison warned. When you have a combination of branches rather than separation of branches, and Scalia did too, you have a tyranny. And I don't care about what John Roberts pronounces from the bench. Do your job, Chief Justice of the United States. Don't get into the political fight. Fix it. Because if you don't...
That's the problem. I don't think he understands he has to fix it. And Mark Levin obviously knows exactly what he's talking about. But the entirety of this dilemma that we're in is the Supreme Court can't just issue an edict. And so the problem that this is causing, which I think most people realize when it gets to the Supreme Court, when it gets there, more than likely, probably 99% chance, they're going to toss all this stuff out. That's not what the Democrats are doing. All they're trying to do is slow everything down. What if it takes 6 months for the first case to get to the Supreme Court? Because it's down here, then it's got to go to the appellate court, then it's got to go to Supreme Court. That's one case. There's like 100 of them. And so they're thinking, hey, listen, if we just keep doing this, then we'll slow him down, and then sooner or later, it'll be 2.5 years, and we won't have to worry about it. Let's bank everything on 2026. We can then say and tell all the people, hey, you couldn't get anything done. The courts ruled against them. You need to get these Republicans out of here. That's their plan, because they don't have any other plan. So their plan is to slow everything down. You can't stop them, so you say, let's just keep, pushing and pushing and pushing.
Fix it. We're going to lose our constitutional construct. or Congress is going to have to figure out some way to fix it. One other thing. The idea, and I've even heard it on my beloved network from some of these former whatevers, that we shouldn't raise our voice. That's our job. This government exists for we the people. It doesn't exist for John Roberts, the judges, Congress, or anybody else. This whole thing was set up for us, to protect us. When these judges are conducting themselves this way, when they're interfering with an election, when they're grabbing, seizing power in front of our eyes, we're all smart, we see it, from the executive branch, a president of the United States. He's elected nationally. They're created by Congress. They're not even in the Constitution. They're using a power, judicial review, that's not even in the Constitution, that was created by the Supreme Court in 1803. They should at least have some level of deference to the President of the United States. And notice one other thing. Compare the number of restraining orders, injunctions, and reversals that Donald Trump has had with the last 10 presidents of the United States.
We just have those up on the board, Mark.
It is grotesque.
Yeah.
So, understand what he's saying. You can clearly see if you almost like a football game. I always go back to football when they chart the various amount of presidents over the last 10 presidents. How many injunctions and TROs has he? And Trump's way ahead. So it's an obvious tactic at this point. But the biggest thing he said right there, and I try to stress it, even with my cold, trying to keep talking. And that's why I'm out here twice a day, fighting through a cold, still yelling, come on, people, get with it, is because that is what counts. Our voices, collectively, in uproar, saying we're not going to take this anymore. And really getting out there, and I don't mean going out to a Tesla dealership like these idiots, letting people know we're done with this. And maybe at that point, the poll I'm going to show you will change and give Trump enough evidence and ammunition to say, all right, it's time to pull the plug. Let's hear what Stephen Miller has to say about this.
Order and a verbal order. Caroline was asked about this in the briefing, and she sort of suggested that maybe the administration doesn't necessarily view these as having the same weight. Is it the administration's understanding that he would comply with the verbal order?
Well, again, the whole thing is just preposterous. So
you couldn't hear, but because they don't have the microphone on the reporters, but they're starting to inquire about ignoring the orders, compliance. What are you going to do? You got to comply with these orders because they're starting to hear the rumbling. They're hearing you. Understand that right now. There are a lot of people who have a lot of social media software. Most of the reporters are on Twitter or /X all day long. They're looking to see what the temperature, seeing where the wind blows, and they are starting to see people bubble up and go, we're over it. Ignore them. Don't comply. F them. However emphatic you personally want to be, it's taking notice. Otherwise, he wouldn't get a question like this. Stephen Miller is astute to know that the reason this question is coming out isn't because of anything he said, isn't because of anything he's posted or Caroline Levitt has posted. Why would you now be talking about this? Because they're seeing the groundswell. These reporters are seeing it. It's in the rotation on their timeline. And that's what I'm telling you why you have to speak out, is because I don't know who's in my timeline. You don't know who's in yours. But if enough people keep saying it, screw this, F them, whatever you feel comfortable with, but let people know, ignore these judges. And now they can't ignore it in their press conferences. They have to talk about it. Hey, man, we're seeing a lot of people say this and that. And Stephen Miller just sitting there smiling because he knows what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. He knows. So he's going to answer this question.
As the Department of Justice has said in writing, nothing that the administration did conflicted with the court order. But there's a bigger issue here, which is the court order is patently unlawful. And if we got into a place in this country where district court judges could, for example, help is the wrong word, could interfere and direct specific targeting or non-targeting in, say, Houthi controlled territory, could direct which general on the battlefield is going to be in charge of making which decisions, could direct, for example, we can send this military asset to this country, but not this country, could direct what intelligence we could share with Israel versus with Saudi Arabia. if a district court judge can be involved in the conduct of a foreign policy, under no definition do we have a democracy in this country. I mean, not to get too philosophical, but for a long time in this country, power has been concentrated principally in two areas: the unelected bureaucracy and the unelected judiciary. And power has been increasingly concentrated in these two areas. And in the case of the hard left, the judiciary takes steps to protect the bureaucracy, and that further it shrinks the circle in which democracy is occurring. So take an example, just like firing recalcitrant bureaucrats. So bureaucrats serve at the pleasure of the president. The president is elected by the American people. So you have unelected judges protecting the jobs of unelected bureaucrats to pursue their own policy preferences. So when Americans vote for big shifts in policy, they're voting for the president. And so we tend to think about executive power as this.
As he's saying that, this vision just came to my mind, that he's talking to these reporters who we've seen in the White House press conference, and for some reason I just get this. You asked the man a question, and now he's educating you, and all you can go is, okay. They have no clue what this man is saying, but I love it. And it's Stephen Miller, not Smiller. I kind of brought them together. But you guys probably feel the same way. He's laying down some serious smack, just like that, off the top of his head. And I just have this vision of some of them with their mouth wide open, to having no clue what this guy is saying.
Well, it should be, and we ought to think about it as being a unified power. But what it's become increasingly is a severed power, and more of it has been accumulated in the bureaucracy. And then when unelected judges empower the bureaucracy. So, for example, there's a large section of our bureaucracy that doesn't want to deport any of these aliens, right? And they collude with the ACLU and the judiciary to try to keep them here in this country. So this is really about the restoration of democracy and saying that the person that's elected by the whole American people can implement these big policy shifts. Otherwise, what you have, which has unfortunately afflicted a lot of the Western world, is a situation where voters can't vote for the change that they want. And so this is really fundamentally about democracy. The American people said to get these terrorist gangs the hell out of our country. The president has plenary authority under the Constitution, under the Alien Enemies Act, under the INA, under core Article 2 powers to achieve that. And no district court judge who presides over just some small, like little geography of the whole country could possibly presume to have the authority to direct the expulsion of terrorists from our soil, who, by the way, are also here illegally. Thank you, everybody.
Two snaps up. Thank you. Okay, whatever. They have no idea how he just schooled them. Remember back, I don't know, maybe like November 3rd, and all the liberals, all they could talk about was it could be the end of democracy. Oh, if Trump gets in, it's the end of democracy. You don't hear them saying that anymore because they are ushering in the end of democracy. Democracy got proven on November 5th. 77 million of us said, we want Trump. That's your democracy. That is your democratic republic. We showed you. You effed around, you found out. Now all of a sudden you don't want that. Now you're like, hey, well, hold on a second. We want these judges who have these small little enclaves to rule across the entire nation. It wasn't designed that way. And so now they're trying to make it look to you and others like, oh, Trump's not, he's not paying attention. He's not heeding what this judge here said. And what did the judge say? Oh, the judge said that Transformers have to be in the military. Well, we already voted, the democracy, we already voted, yeah, we don't want it. Remember, everything Trump's doing, he said on his campaign trail. And we all voted for it. So if the people approved of what he was going to do, it's not a surprise. Hey, I'm making sure the Transformers aren't in the military because that's what everybody voted for. Well, we don't want that anymore. We're going to change it. Oh, we're going to get rid of all these newcomers, especially the gangs. because, Laken Riley and the little girl, and he showed the videos. You guys want this? And he talked about the Trace Leches. We're going to get rid of them too. That's what you guys want? Yes, overwhelmingly. Let's vote for him. And the district court judges, this is the end of democracy. No, he's doing what people wanted. You're trying to erase democracy. You are trying to take it from the will of the people and say, I don't like it. I'm getting paid. My wife's getting paid. My brother, my sister, my son-in-law. We're all getting paid by these NGOs, these small NGOs, and so we're going to subvert the will of the people. What about democracy? Oh, F that. We lost. Now we got to find a way around it. That's what's happening. See, nobody, even them, they're not surprised at what's happening. They're just surprised and trying to figure out a way to stop what's happening. Trump made no bones about it. They laughed at him. They said everything. They used to play his rallies. We all saw the rallies. He said it every single time. He had a video playing, and he showed the Transformers in the military, and everybody laughed. He's like, they're getting out. And he showed the Trace Leches, and they're getting out. We're not doing it, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. Everything he said, we all said, yep, sign me up. Where do I sign up? So they're not surprised. It's not like he's subverting democracy by doing what he said. He's actually doing what he promised. You're subverting democracy by not allowing him to do what he said he was going to do. You lost. Losers don't control things just because you don't like what's happening. It's the same thing that Roberts and some of these people said to Trump. Oh, you just can't say this and do this because you don't like what he said. No, it has nothing to do with liking or disliking the judge. He has no authority. And all he's going to do is try to slow everybody down. And you're allowing this stuff to happen. And so it's you. And that's something you guys all should know. It's them who's trying to stop democracy. The Republic. It's them. It's not you. You're doing nothing wrong. So get your voice out there, because obviously they're hearing it.
Will, our lawyers are working on this. We will answer appropriately, but what I will tell you is this judge has no right to ask those questions. You have one unelected federal judge trying to control foreign policies, trying to control the Alien Enemies Act, which they have no business presiding over. And there are 261 reasons why Americans are safer now. That's because those people are out of this country. The judge had no business, no power to do what he did. And Will, he came in on an emergency basis on a Saturday with very, very short notice, if any, to our attorney to run in the courtroom. And this has been a pattern.
Did you guys know that? that he ran into the court on a Saturday, which is absurd unless, we're getting bombed or something. It was so important for him to stop Trump because somehow somebody leaked to them that these planes were going to be flying up. I'm sure at this point they've got an idea who leaked out that information, but that information leaked out and they said, we got to stop it. We got to do something. And so he runs into the office, into the court on a Saturday to try and stop everything. That's a big, big bit of information you need to know.
Liberal judges, you just spoke about that. It's been a pattern with what they've been doing. This judge had no right to do that. They're meddling in foreign affairs. They're meddling in our government. And the question should be, why is a judge trying to protect terrorists who have invaded our country over American citizens? TDA is a terrorist organization. They are organized. They have a government structure within them. They are sending money not only throughout this country to each other, but back to Venezuela. They are a terrorist organization, and we are not going to have that in our country. We are going to deport them, and we're going to continue to deport them. We will honor what the court says, but we will appeal. And we will continue to fight terrorists within our country, Will. Not going to stop, and we're going to get them out of here.
So how do you do those two things? How do you comply with the order while continuing to ship them out? Some of you may have that question. Does she talk out of both sides of her mouth? Nope. We'll comply with the order as it's written. However, it doesn't apply to us. Do you remember back when the whole 2020 Stop the Steal was going on? And just like right now, on the other side, all of the Trump attorneys were going to court after court after court to try and stop everything. Remember? What kept happening in court after court after court? The media said Trump lost. He lost all these court cases. That's not what happened. You remember. And if you don't, I'm going to tell you right now, because it's really important. He kept getting denied over and over by these judges because they said he lacked, or whoever was representing the case, lacked standing. They didn't have the ability to even sue because the judge ordered that they lacked standing, i.e. there was no jurisdiction to adjudicate because there was no standing. You don't have the right to bring this case. You remember that? All right, so I want you to flip the script here. You got a law, a law that says, I don't know, that the president can deport people and he can decide the Aliens Act and he can do this and that. And a judge in a small hovel is now saying, I can do this for the entire country. Interesting. What standing and jurisdiction do you have over California, Texas, Florida? You see what I'm saying? The judge doesn't have standing. The judge does not have jurisdiction. None of these judges do. But now they're going to be trying to paint a picture as though he does, and that to avoid them or to circumvent them or just to plain out ignore them means you are, you're invalidating the court system, the judiciary. I'm like, wait a minute. You just told me in 2020 that standing and jurisdiction was big. Now you're telling me standing doesn't matter and somebody can go ahead and put an injunction across the entire country because of something somebody said? Remember that. If you want to go back in 2020 and look at all those cases that were thrown out because lack of standing, and now all of a sudden you're trying to tell me you have standing over the President of the United States and that the ACLU has standing to bring a case involving immigration. Yeah, right.
Let me explain it to you.
Yeah.
The hard left, the radical left, people that are carrying out these acts of domestic terrorism against Tesla, they hate America. They hate traditionalism. They hate American history. They think it's rotten, racist, corrupt, unfair. Elon Musk represents really the American dream. Coming here legally as an immigrant, working hard. Yeah, he got some government loans, but that's only because he had something really powerful to promote and innovate and ultimately sell for the benefit of our country. But so he should be a shining example of what is possible in this country. But instead, he's the target because at their core, these people despise the traditionalism of America. And his example in making it in this country is a traditional example of success, ingenuity, and entrepreneurship. That's why they despise it. But 5 minutes ago, when he wasn't political, they're like, "Oh, isn't it great? It's all green. Isn't he wonderful?" So it's just beyond obvious. These are political terrorists that are taking it out on Elon Musk, and the next person who helps Trump, they're going to do the same thing to them. But this is a warning shot they're firing to any business leader who takes it upon himself or herself to assist this president in carrying out his agenda. And I can tell you, as you knew, Larry, and that was a terrific interview, Elon Musk is full speed ahead. He's not deterred. Yeah. He's very optimistic about this country. And I find that incredibly, as an American, forget TV or any of that, I find that incredibly inspiring.
One of the things that the left doesn't seem to understand, most of them haven't had access to people with a lot of money. Most of them have not had access to people who've enjoyed a really good level of success. Those of you who have had access, and I don't mean watching on television or reading about them. I'm talking about talking, being around them, elbow in elbow, where they can actually be real with you. Anyone, other than maybe Paris Hilton, anyone who's got any substance to them, any amount of zeros in their bank account. Any single one of them has gone through it all and said, I am not going to stop until I succeed. I am not going to be beat. You cannot defeat me. I will do whatever it takes to make sure I succeed. If I got to work 80 hours a week, I'll work 80. If I got to work 90, I'll work 90. I'll sleep in the office. I'll do whatever it takes for this company to be successful. Democrats don't understand that ethic. And so what they don't understand, because they never had access to that, is you're not going to threaten me away from my business. You are not going to dissuade me from succeeding. The only thing they're doing right now, and if God help them because they don't understand it at all, they don't understand. You put an obstacle in front of somebody who knows how to succeed, they're going to find a way not to go around you. They're not interested in going around you. They're going to find a way to go through you. You see, nobody I know who's successful looks at how to avoid something. I'm going to take this head on, and either I win or I lose, but I'm going to take it head on, and I'm going to do my best to get right through this. I'm not looking to get around you. How many times you've heard these people on the left talk about, oh, Trump's had 6 bankruptcies. Good. Although none of them were personal, but good. You know why that's good? Is because, as who said? Thomas Edison, I believe, said it. I found out 6 things that didn't work. And none of those 6 things, those businesses that he had that didn't work, that you guys laugh at. Oh, Trump University. Oh, Trump Wine. Oh, Trump this, Trump that. Oh, they all didn't work. Good. You know why? Because it makes me understand what I need to do to succeed. They don't understand that mentality. You can tell they don't understand mentality because they laugh at it. Oh, he's had this many business. I don't know anyone who hit a home run on their first time at bat. Well, some people have. Even Elon Musk. Read his history and what he's had to go through to get to where he is right now. He wasn't born with $300 billion. He had to get there. And they make fun of, well, Donald Trump got a loan from his dad. Okay, he got $1 million loan. Seriously? His dad bankrolled him? Do you think that makes somebody successful? Just because you get a loan or an investment, you think that makes you successful? Do you know how many startup companies in this country have been given tens and 20 and $30 million to start up and go, yeah, completely poop the bed? Any of you remember a company, I don't know, called TiVo? Anybody remember a company called, I don't know, Blockbuster? I live here in South Florida. The former owner of the Miami Dolphins was Wayne Huizenga. Wayne Huizenga made billions. Cuban guy. I think he came from Cuba. Billions. He started Blockbuster. And it didn't keep progressing and it went down. But you know what one of his companies did? One of his companies made gazillions picking up garbage. Waste management. And then he ends up buying the Miami Dolphins. Every single person with a substantial degree of success has also had failure because the failure is the roadmap. Okay, I know if I do this, I'm not going to, that's not going to come out well. And most people who have success have built a roadmap, and so they know, don't take the left turn here, take it 3 blocks down, because you take the left turn here, it's just going to die. Liberals don't know that. They think millionaires and billionaires, they think the millionaires and billionaires are all lucky. It's been given to them. It's privilege. Do you think, and that's why I know if that ship called America sinks, like Elon Musk was saying, it's why I know some of these liberals are full of it. Because people like LeBron James, who came from nothing and became a unbelievable basketball player, still hate his guts, but I recognize skill, and has branched out and he's done some things and things have failed and different things. Or Taylor Swift, you know, she's playing her guitar. She wasn't like flying around the world with 2 jets and playing to 100,000 people every night. Nope. There were nights she probably played for free because she had to get her name out there, to understand what songs work, what songs don't. You remember she rebranded herself. She was country. She was like, you know what? I could probably do better if I go pop. So she rebranded herself. Something wasn't working. She wasn't happy with it. She thinks she may have tapped out. And so she said, let me go this direction. I can make more money. And the stories like that abound. Democrats, most liberal Democrats, but I'm talking about the crazies, don't understand that. They think everybody who's made money is on the back of somebody else. You hear that all the time. Or because of their white privilege, which means most black people could never be rich. Or you couldn't possibly have done it yourself. Remember, that was something Obama really tried to put it. Oh, they couldn't buy it. They couldn't do it themselves. I'll tell you what. I didn't do this myself. But none of the people who helped me do I see. I don't know who made that light. I don't know who made that camera. I don't know who made this monitor. I don't know who drove the trucks to the store to do it. I don't know who gave me this board. Those people made that stuff, but I took those things and then I did what I had to do. And I did the same thing on a much smaller scale as Taylor Swift did. Hey, Miami Dolphins. I'm like, hey man, this ain't working. This isn't going to go where I want it to go. So what do I need to do? Go over here. Pivot. Start something else. And so I started this. And now I've got to a point where you do the same thing. What can I do to take this better? And so about, 2 months ago, I'm like, Robin, we need to do something. What do you want to do? I want to do 2 shows a day. If I do 2 shows a day, I think I can increase this, increase that. Yeah, wow, okay. And then last month, you guys heard me say, hey, listen, I'm going to take some snippets, and I'm going to add those as on-demand videos in addition to my live videos. Oh, and then we're going to add Rumble, blah, blah, and so on. Liberals don't understand that. They think everything that Elon Musk is doing is because he's rich. He's a millionaire and a billionaire, and he's rich. Don't ever fall into that. And I'm telling you right now, I've worked for some people who've got billions. I've told you about my advertising agency owner. And every single one of them, just sit back and watch these people. And the one thing I learned, I told Ashley as a child, I learned it a long time ago from a guy who bankrolled me on something way back then. Never say can't. If you can't do something, find somebody who can and work with them and learn how to do what you can't do now. So now if I reach an obstacle where I'm having a problem, I don't say I can't. I say I need somebody to work with, to contact, who can help me go through and do this, which is why Ashley is working with me now. Hey, I need someone who can help get the interviews. I can't. I don't have time. Nope, don't say can't. Get it done. That's a long-winded thing, but it just drives me crazy when liberals talk about people who have money.
Analysis that if there were a tariff that did cause the price to go up, then that wouldn't change the inflation rate is true. It's just that I agree with you that the price doesn't necessarily have to go up, especially if you look at everything else that we're doing. So we've got a massive supply-side tax cut, which should probably increase the equilibrium capital stock by about 10%, which is really massively deflationary. We've got huge cuts in government spending, which is very, very much massively deflationary, such as lowering inflation. And we've got deregulation, which lowers the cost of everything, which is really...
See what I mean? This video tonight was to be an uplifting thing. But in order to uplift, you have to understand what these people are saying. It's like they're speaking Latin to some people. Deflationary? What are you talking about? I mean, because they're just conversation. 2 guys talking. Hey, we're going to be doing this, yeah, and but if you don't know what they're saying, it goes over your head. So again, change your circle. Understand what's going on. Understand what Trump's economy is all about. These whiners over here, they're just going to keep whining. Because they don't get it. Not at all.
Lowering inflation. And then we've got tariffs, which won't change inflation if we onshore stuff. And guess what just happened? You saw one of the best industrial production reports yesterday, Larry, that you've ever seen in your life. And one way to think about it is that last year, auto production in the U.S. dropped 7.8% over the year because of Joe Biden's policies. Last month, it went up 8.5%. So we actually more than offset the whole year of Biden's destructive auto policies. Autos are about 40% of the trade deficit, 30 to 40%, depending on what year. And so imagine that we're onshoring all these jobs in America, buying American cars. And if you buy an American car instead of, say, a Mercedes, what's the effect on inflation? What's the effect on inflation? Could actually be that the American cars are better values right now. The unemployment rate is at a reasonable place. Auto employment is skyrocketing, and people are buying American cars. That's exactly the purpose of President Trump's policies, and that's not inflationary. If you switch from buying, a foreign car to an American car, it doesn't necessarily cause inflation.
Are you excited?
So I want to show you something. Caroline Levitt, and it's funny because most of the stuff I can show you, the auxiliary stuff I show you, or support stuff, you'll never see it on the news. They don't want people ever seeing this. I want to show you this. Caroline Levitt, check this out. The Biden administration, as you know, killed nearly 8 million chickens right ahead of President Trump's inauguration. And that's heartless. On top of everything else, that's heartless, leading to supply shortages and higher prices. The egg crisis is Biden's crisis, but President Trump and Secretary Brooke Rollins are fixing it. And so, you remember the big, beautiful chart that President Trump had, and he showed where how illegal immigration went to zero, and then well, look at this big, beautiful chart. It's the next new big, beautiful chart. This is where the eggs are. Look at what happened. In January of 2025, right after they killed the 8 million chickens, the prices were obviously, and now look, it's lower than it was way back here. You can't argue with that. They'll never show it to you, but you can't argue with it. Look at that. It's insane. Liberals won't talk about that. They're worried about Tres Leches guys being deported. But what about people's lives getting better because the egg prices are dropping and gas prices are dropping? And what are you mad at Elon for? He just saved a bunch of people in space. What is wrong with you people? Meanwhile, the rest of us are looking, well, things are looking good. This weekend, Saturday, the first annual Boca Raton Seafood Festival is coming to Boca. And Rob was like, let's go. We're going to go. First annual. I'm going to take video from this so you can see how packed it is. This past weekend, we were down at the beach because it's spring break and the kids were down. Packed. All the restaurants packed. Restaurant we went to that we usually go to, they had a back room under development because they're enlarging the space. Business is starting to boom again. You just have to look for it. Understand that. Speaking of business booming, let's listen to a couple guys who know something about business.
By the idea of the sovereign wealth fund?
I am. And I'm excited by the idea. This is President Trump. Everything he does isn't in a straight line, but I guarantee you, he has a destination in mind. And the idea that he's going to be the first president in generations who is he wants to create assets for the American people, not just debt.
Yeah.
So he wants to take the debt down. And then this idea of assets, there was a lot of talk about this economic deal we were going to do with Ukraine. That would have gone in the sovereign wealth fund.
Right. Yeah.
Government has big stake in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Yeah. When it comes out of conservatorship, where does that go?
Where does that go?
Right.
As you mentioned, Doug Burgum did great work when he was governor of North Dakota. North Dakota has the equivalent of 2 state sovereign wealth funds.
Right.
And for, I don't know, are they 7, 8, 900,000 people?
Right.
I think they had $25 billion.
Right. Yeah.
And
Alaska Permanent.
The Alaska Permanent. Yeah. But all that's from the natural resource money going in.
Yeah.
So to the extent we start, the other day when the Sovereign Wealth Fund was announced, President Trump surprised me in the Oval and said, "Could you make a few remarks?" And I said, "Well, we're going to we're going to mobilize the asset side of the balance sheet." And all the gold bugs said he's going to revalue the gold.
Yeah.
I can say today we're not revaluing the gold.
Yeah.
But what we are going to do is Doug Burgum at Interior, every other department head is looking for the assets that we can mobilize.
Yeah.
So if we have energy leases, federal government owns, back to the housing shortage, federal government owns a lot of land in downtown urban areas. Can we, or in suburban adjacent things in Nevada and Utah, can we use that land?
Yeah. Do you see a wave of privatizations as a way to sort of both pay down the deficits and debts and also just to...
That's important to me. Like, why put it in a sovereign wealth fund versus pay down the debt? Help kind of do the finance math for us.
Because you think you can get a higher return.
Right.
Well,
so anything that beats our current...
Get a higher return. That's what it's all about. And I'm telling you right now, down here in South Florida, there are some people just salivating. Can't wait. You're gonna open up some of this land that the government owns, and finally we can develop it. We can go in there and build some houses and do some things. Oh yeah, cha-ching, big time cha-ching. It's not a bad thing. Understand, it's not a bad thing. The Democrats want you to think that everything these guys are talking about, oh, that's the rich white people, the millionaires and the billionaires. No, it's called prosperity. Do you remember prosperity? Do you remember what it looks like, what it smells like? Do you still have the drive in you to get out there and be prosperous? I understand some people are on a fixed income and some people have health issues. Yes, I understand that. And many of the people here who watch our videos are a little bit older, but those of you who can, should. Those of you who can need to get out there and grab some gusto. It's coming. The reason why I'm showing you this video today, because I wanted to bring everybody up after all the idiocy we've seen in the last, 24, 48 hours. Trump's moving ahead financially. They can't stop him in that regard. Maybe that's what this is all about. Maybe it's like, hey, let me throw this over here so they all run over here like shark chum. And over here, we're making money. We're going to be doing deals. These guys, remember I said the other day, who you don't hear from? Those are the guys who are still working. And Scott Dissent here with these two guys. The guy, I forget Shamat's name. Well, that's his name, Shamat. He's a billionaire. The other guy with him, billionaire. Steve Sachs, their buddy, is working with Trump in the crypto division. And so all these people are understanding the markets are opening up. I'm not talking about stock markets. That's gambling. What they're doing is actually investing. You have to understand the difference between investing and basically putting money in a stock market. These guys are like, you know what? I can build this. I can develop that and get paid for it. Profit. Profit. Love it. Love profit.
Return, our current interest rate.
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm keeping score, not that I watch it closely, but the 10-year Treasury today is 4.28.
4.28, yeah.
So,
it's responding well.
Can we do better?
Yeah.
Can we do better than 428? Yeah. And I think with this group and this cabinet, and if we can put in right now we're working on the study group for the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and we want to do best practices. We're talking to people around the world. We're talking to investment people. We're talking to a lot of the other big sovereign funds, and we're going to do best practices. And we want this to be a legacy event.
Totally.
The American people.
We want this to be a legacy thing. Means it's there for you. Not on that scale, but on a smaller scale. You can indeed profit. And I'm not going to get into it because some people don't like it when I talk too much about making money. I don't understand why. That's a good thing. Maybe part of that is trying to get people to understand you've been brainwashed. You've been brainwashed. And all I do is when I sit with Robin is I'll go through deal after deal after deal. What makes sense? What makes sense? Can we do this one? What do you think? Should we pull a trigger on here? Because it's just numbers. It's literally numbers on a page. Hey, what's this house going to cost? What's our return on it? What will we have to... It's numbers. And I'm telling you, you can hear from these guys sitting there casually, legs crossed in their suits, smiling about the investments that they're putting forward, how they're going to do it. And not one time in there did they say the Democrats are going to stop us. Nope. Listen to people who are doing things that are agnostic to the liberal nuttery. So that's a big sentence there. The people screaming and crying are not the ones you want to follow business-wise. Just saying. So now here comes this survey poll I want to show you. And there's something interesting I told you in this poll. You may not see it, but I'll point it out.
Do not want Trump to defy court rulings, all right? You rarely see numbers like this. Should Trump follow court rulings? Look at this. 84% of all adults, that's near uniformity in this day and age. You rarely ever see 92% of Democrats, 82% of independents, 79% of Republicans agree on anything. But they do agree on this. They may disagree over Donald Trump, but they all agree that he must follow court rulings. To cross that Rubicon is a big no-no.
I get it. You're being very emphatic. Do not cross these judges. It's a big no-no. The people have spoken. They do not want Donald Trump doing any of this. Except where his right arm is, there's a problem. And where his right arm is, let me see if I can rewind this a little bit to where he's standing. Okay. What you see, you can't see. I'll go to full screen and pause, but there's something in the very small print, in the details, that I want you to look at. Let me get there, okay?
Donald Trump.
All right, so I don't know if you're watching on TV or on your phone, take a snapshot, do whatever you want. Zoom in. There's two things about these numbers. Two things. All right, you ready? Here's what those two things are. This poll was put out by the Washington Post. So already you're like, get a little side eye, right? And secondly, this poll was put out in February. As far as I can tell by the calendar right now, it's March 19th. You're showing me data from 3 weeks ago at minimum. Because if you're saying February, it could have been February 10th. I don't know. But you're showing me at least a 3 or 4 week old poll before all this crap began. So now that people know what these courts are doing, and I don't know why you would have run that post beforehand, maybe a couple of them went through, but now with everything everybody is seeing, you don't think there is a much higher percentage of Republicans who are like, bring that down to like 30%. Ignore them. You don't think there are independents who are like, bring that down. Way down. We've seen something over the last 3 weeks that isn't representative in this poll, yet for some reason they decided to show this poll today. Which means, if you remember back, did you remember what James Carville said about, 30 days ago? I'm going to play that tomorrow morning because I've been waiting to see what they were going to do. In that poll from a month ago, in that interview from a month ago, he said, and I quote, "You wait. In about 30 days, Trump's numbers are going to be in the tank. It's over for them." Do you remember that? If you haven't, stay tuned for tomorrow morning's show. He said that. How would he have known to forecast a month ahead, being Nostradamus of the polling? How would he have known this? That things weren't going to be going well according to what the polls were going to say. Because this was taken, I guarantee you, if you dug in, this was taken about the time that James Carville said that. And they've been sitting on it. And they've been waiting. Not much of what I'm saying is conjecture. If you zoom in and look at that little text down there, it says February 2025. It's March 19th. And this came out today. Today, they talked about this. So if you've had this in the can, why didn't you release it, I don't know, a week ago? 10 days ago? Why did you wait till now to release it? Because they're orchestrating this. This is all manipulated. They knew that they were going to do all these lawsuits. They knew where they were going to take it. They knew if they could show people, oh, people don't like it if Trump would to ignore the orders. And that may have been the truth back then. But I know all of you guys here, many of you are sitting here going, oh yeah, you need to ignore. You may not have thought that. Here's a question for you. Here's a question for you. A month ago, would you have advised President Trump to ignore the court orders? Where was your mindset last month? Versus where's your mindset now? Your mindset now is probably, I've seen enough, ignore them. See, back then, they counted on people's feelings. That, the courts, the guys in the black robes, the ladies in the black robes, they are, they're judges, they're equitable. You can't ignore them. And these people cannot be trusted to show you anything. Anything. It was the day before Carville. Yep, they knew. They knew it was coming. CNN shenanigans. You were watching a show take place. Completely, you're watching a show. James Carville is untrustworthy. He helped screw up Louisiana. Yeah, a month ago I would have ordered him or encouraged him to ignore the court orders. They've been out to get him since. Yep, some of us were. But you're seeing it now, what these people are trying to do. And they're doing everything they can to paint Trump in this light. So let's continue.
Agree that he must follow court rulings. To cross that Rubicon is a big no-no in the eyes of the American public. When the court comes down with a ruling, the American public concurs with each other. That is, Donald Trump must follow those court rulings, even if he doesn't like them.
I mean, only dogs could get this kind of approval rating. This is incredibly telling.
This and Mother Teresa crosses the Mother Teresa line. She had about an 80% favorable rating when she passed.
Okay, so what do Americans think about whether...
So, I don't know, maybe we're all retarded. But I don't see many people in here saying, hey, no, he shouldn't do it. And so mathematically, that tells me that their chart is BS, complete BS, because that tells you that if you got in a room with 10 Republicans, 8 of them are going to tell you, 8 are going to tell you, oh no, he's got to follow the rules. Oh, he's got to follow those court orders. So if 8 out of the 10 people in their poll says, Republicans say you have to follow the orders, then our skewage is really gone. Most of the people here are Republicans, or at least, moderate, and they're saying overwhelmingly, screw the orders. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Something ain't right. Something ain't right whatsoever.
Or not, he will defy or not defy a court. Where are they on that?
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting. They all pretty much agree that he should follow court rulings. But when it comes to whether he will follow court rulings, this is where there's big disagreement. Will Trump follow court rulings when the courts rule against him? Look at the majority number here. 58% are not confident that he will, compared to just...
Why would you ask people, I don't know, before all these rulings came out, why would you ask people a question like, hey, should will Trump follow court orders? It's like day after getting married. Is your wife going to cheat on you? Are you going to cheat on your wife? Is your best friend going to do this or that? I don't know. Why would you ask me that now? Well, they were planning this all along. So back then, people were like 58%. We're not really confident that Trump's even going to follow these orders. So if you weren't confident he was going to do it, but you think he should have, now Harry, go out and do a real poll.
42% who are confident that he will. So I think this news that's come out over the past 48 hours, will he, won't he? He, of course, says he will. But the idea that he wouldn't, that finds a home in the American public. That pretty much goes with what they think might very well happen, because 58% of the public is not confident that Trump will, in fact, follow court rulings.
So do Americans think that Trump is overstepping his authority at this point as they watch all of this play out and see some of the things he's been saying?
Yeah, this kind of follows the narrative, right? That's what's so dangerous for Donald Trump on this. You know, I was talking with our dear friend, Mr. Berman, who's over there at the desk before. John Berman, you may have heard of him? Never heard of him? I was talking with him before, and he essentially said, when this becomes a fight over the courts, that all of a sudden is a big issue for Donald Trump. Has Trump exceeded his authority? Again, this follows, right? 57% of Americans already say that he has as president, compared to 40% say no. So again, Donald Trump says he won't defy the court rulings, but the idea that he will follows along with the American public, because they already think he has exceeded his authority as president.
It is fascinating, these numbers. Thank you so much, Harry Enton. All the energy in the world. We will like some more of that.
I'll try and deliver it.
Over to, John Berman.
Mr. Berman.
The
aforementioned, shall we say.
President Trump has...
So just remember, in your travels, if you're talking to some people, make sure there's like 6 or 10 people in the room and ask them the same question. Hey, has President Trump exceeded his authority? And unless 6 people say yes, that's BS. Should President Trump follow these orders? Oh, they're saying 8 people in your group of 10 will say, 8, make sure they're Republicans. 8 of 10 Republicans are saying he should follow these court orders. They expect you to swallow this stuff. That's what, I look at on a daily basis, and I just say, oh my God, he's stronger than they even know. Or maybe he's so strong, they're terrified. They're making stuff up just out of thin air to try and appease their audience, who obviously don't know any MAGA, who don't talk to Republicans and don't talk to any independents. I don't get it. That's why we're seeing what's happening. All right. More good news.
Promised to protect female athletes. He has threatened to rip federal funding away from any university that defies his executive order banning biological males from infiltrating women's sports, and he is doing it. We are the first to report that President Trump has paused $175 million in federal funding from the University of Pennsylvania over its controversial policies. A senior administration official telling Fox Business that
I have a question. These Ivy League universities, like Pennsylvania, have probably close to $1 billion endowments. Why in the hell are we giving them any money? Why are you, not the government doesn't have any money, why are you giving these universities with $1 billion endowments $175 million? And then it's not like that's going to the kids, because now we also have to give them student loans. So no wonder they're terrified of the Department of Education. So wait a minute. So you get $175 million, and all the kids get to go for free, and all your teachers are on tenure, so they don't even really have to work. That's a great gig, isn't it? What a gig.
this is just a taste of what could be coming down the pipe for Penn, a proactive punishment from the president to pull back discretionary spending going to the school from DOD and HHS. The university is still at risk of losing all its federal funding as a result of the ongoing Title IX investigations looking into Penn for allowing transgender athlete and biological male Leah Thomas to compete on the women's swim team, use women's locker rooms, while exposing his male genitalia to his fellow female athletes.
I hope they went and took that trophy away from him. I hope Riley Gaines walked in and said, give me that. Give me that damn trophy. You can't have it, okay? Sorry. It's for women. Now, you guys know that Trump is he's deporting the Tres Leches eaters down to El Salvador. And so I don't have a lower third here, because the president of El Salvador speaking here And he's telling you how he turned his country around. You see, the libs don't like this guy, and they don't like Milei from Argentina because they have roadmaps. They were going through the same thing, and somehow these two countries were able to turn things around. Listen to what he says here, and it's subtitles because obviously he speaks Spanish, I believe it is. But listen to this.
Como pueden ver ustedes, todos los que estamos aquí reunidos son parte del Ejecutivo, del órgano ejecutivo, que es el del cual yo estoy encargado, a excepción de una persona. Es el fiscal general que está aquí, él no es del Ejecutivo. Y está acá por una razón bien sencilla. Y es porque le quiero pedir en público de que investiguemos a todos los que están acá.
Okay. Oh, this is something out of The Godfather. Actually, see that guy right there? Yeah. He's the Attorney General. And so sitting in the room are the other cabinet members. You know why he's sitting here? Yeah. Because he's about to investigate all of you. Only Donald Trump could do that. No other president could do what he just did.
Para atrás y para adelante. Yo me imagino que pues no hay ningún problema, ¿no? Hay una persona que me dijo una vez, mire, ¿y tú no le temes a la muerte? Yo le dije, no, pues claro, nadie se quiere morir. Yo no me quiero morir, pero yo sé que me voy a morir algún día, como todos. Si hay algo que no se puede escapar es de la muerte. Todos los que estamos aquí en 100 años, pues, no va a haber nadie vivo. Nadie. Ninguno de los que estamos aquí, lo más probable es que nadie sabe cómo se llama el papá del abuelo de uno. Pero hay algo que yo sí le tengo miedo, y es a dejar un mal legado. Y hay presidentes, unos presos, otros fugitivos, pero la mayoría son recordados como ladrones. Yo no quiero ser recordado como el ladrón. Entonces yo no robo, porque no quiero ser recordado como el ladrón o el corrupto. Pero hubo un presidente, el presidente Duarte, que la gente decía en ese entonces, el presidente no es ladrón, pero se rodeó de ladrones. Y en algún momento representó una esperanza para el pueblo salvadoreño. Pero si acaso es verdad que él no robó, qué tonto fue. Porque él era la esperanza del pueblo, no tocó un centavo y manchó su legado por rodearse de ladrones. Entonces a mí no me va a pasar eso. Yo no voy a ser el presidente que no robó, pero se rodeó de ladrón. Pero que me recuerden como el presidente que no robó y que no dejó que nadie robara. Y al que robó lo metió a la cárcel. Ya hay un par que ya están en la cárcel.
Can you imagine if President Trump, and not just his cabinet, but brought in leaders and directors of the different agencies and said, yeah, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to investigate you now. I'm going to investigate you while you're here. And then I'm going to investigate you when you're gone. I have to figure out the gone part here in America, how you would still be able to do that. But that'd be enough to make some people just get up and say, I'm done. Because I'm going to look into everything, everywhere, all about you. I'm telling you right now, this is where we're going to go. Can you imagine if President Trump called in, I don't know, Lisa Murkowski, Pelosi, Schumer, Jeffries, AOC, the cue ball one, Jasmine Crockett, and they're all sitting in a room. And they walk in and he says, he looks over and they're like, why is Pam Bondi here? Just want to let you know. She's going to investigate all of you. And she's going to keep investigating all of you to make sure you're doing the right thing for America. And she's going to continue to investigate and keep a file open on you as long as I'm president and as long as you're still in office. And if you get voted out in 2026, she's still going to investigate you to see if you get any more money after you leave office that's not supposed to come your way. I heard that and I just went, wow, wow. Because all these people, when they leave office, get these big cushy jobs and they make all kinds of money just because they've sold access. You know how the other people, they get to continue holding their security clearances long after they're out of the government. Why? Why does some guy working in a law firm in Chicago still have a security clearance because he was, I don't know, in the CIA back in 1990? Why? Nobody seems to ever answer those questions. Why are they still able to look inside the cookie jar? Why? So I would love for him to sit at the table and say and do that to people, because at the minute he's done talking, how many people probably within right there or within 24 hours would say, "I'm out"? Because he could say, "Listen, I won't investigate any of you if you leave. You resign." And none of you will get investigated. How many of them would just be, okay, I'm done. I am absolutely done. That's the kind of stuff we need. So I want to set this last video up with you. This is something, let me just make sure I have it. This was sent to me by SV. And it says, this is by George. Watch Bob Lighthizer, the mastermind behind Trump's tariffs and trade tariffs. He stuns Tucker Carlson with an insane stat. So we have transferred about $20 trillion worth of our national wealth, and I would say the future income of that wealth overseas in return for current consumption. The United States is broke and nearing bankruptcy. And it's because the neocons that hijacked our foreign and trade policy since World War II. Oh, that's prior to Kennedy. Shipped all industries to foreign countries. This is what Trump is trying to fix. But we have corrupt judges who have never worked a real job in their lives, constantly ruling to what? Delay and deny. Delay and deny. Listen to this.
We have this giant transfer of wealth from the United States overseas, and that is in the form of trade deficits. And the way the system is supposed to work, no one should have large trade deficits for long periods of time. Things can happen. You can do it. You could have trade deficits with one country, surplus with another. But the notion of a country having hundreds of billions of dollars of trade deficits every year is not how it's supposed to work. We now are to the point where our trade deficits, they calculate them at about $700 or $800 billion. If you did it the way you or I would do in a sensible way, you'd probably be at $1 trillion or $1.25 trillion. So that's a transfer of wealth from Americans overseas in return for current consumption. And it has nothing to do with economics. It's entirely the result of industrial policy of other people and our being defenseless. So you ask yourself, what does that mean over a period of time? Why should I worry about that? There's a data point called the international investment position of a country. And that is how much, for us, all Americans own throughout the entire world versus how much everyone else owns here. That number is a negative $23.5 trillion. And if you said, what was it 20 years ago? It was probably a negative $3 trillion. So we have transferred about $20 trillion worth of our national wealth, and I would say the future income of that wealth, overseas in return for current consumption.
Can you explain that?
Okay, before Tucker asks him, you guys get that? We have been guinea pigs in the biggest experiment of wealth redistribution without our knowledge. Our government has shifted your money, just like they did with Zelensky. They've been doing it forever. And now you're seeing Doge basically uncover this. We've been shifting all of our money to other countries. Can you imagine what these countries would owe us if they were loans? Could you imagine what these countries would do if we said no more? How many of these countries are only countries because America has been propping them up? How many of these countries would even survive as sovereign nations if they don't have American dollars? Well, you're seeing it happen right now. So the new guy in Canada Carney, decides he's going to run over to the EU. And what are they doing? It says Canada is now in talks to join Europe's $1 trillion defense spending project to, quote, Trump-proof their military production. Under the deal, Canadian companies would receive EU contracts to build in Canadian factories. So they're trying to get around the tariffs. Mr. President, this George says this, Mr. President, you have our permission to increase the tariffs to 100%. Trump is going to crush them. He's going to, if we say it here, you know Trump has already seen it as well. He is going to crush them. You may see 100, you may see 200% tariffs. Oh, you want to run around behind my back and cut a deal with these guys. And you think these guys are going to bail you out because we're still giving money to these guys. So we're going to be giving money to the EU so that they can fund Canada and make hell no. Now you're going to have to pay me 300%. You piss me off, I may take it even higher. They're scrambling. They are making stupid deals because they're terrified what's going to happen as Trump turns off the spigot, which is also leading to why these politicians are wigging out. I don't even know all the countries we give money to. I would love to see a chart of all the different countries America supports. And then when you say that, say what happens if we take that away, and we take that away, and we take that away. Well, we can't pay our bills. Then you're not a country. You're not a country. You're not a sovereign nation. We are helping you raise your flag every morning. That flag that you raise is ours. We just let you put somebody else's flag up there because, we want you to pretend like you got a flipping country. See, all this is starting to topple down right now. Stuff that nobody knew. All these little specks of countries all around the world that you have been funding without you knowing it. Scared yet?
Measurement one more time. It's what we own here versus what others own here?
No. So it's how much Americans own overseas.
Okay.
All over the world. Versus how much everybody else in the world owns here. And it's a real calculation. It's not something I did, right? It's a real statistic. It's been around forever.
And what would that include?
So
that they own here.
So, so they own $23.5 trillion worth of stuff. But if you said, what is it mostly? It's probably mostly debt. A lot of it's debt. A lot of it is equity in our companies, real estate. Those are the principal things that they own. Those are the big assets. Debt is a big one, but also, ownership and equity. A lot of it portfolio. Now, some of it is foreign direct investment, where company actually comes in and buys a piece of land and creates jobs. Right. But most of it isn't that. Most of it is just they own U.S. equities. If you think about the United States for most of our history, particularly since the Second World War, we Americans were thought rich because we own more overseas than people owned in America. That's what makes you rich. Now we are poor to the extent of $23.5 trillion.
The Democrats and some Republicans have driven us off the proverbial cliff without you even knowing about it, without you having any idea it was happening. And Donald Trump is the first president to step in and go, we're done. We're not going to let you drive us off a cliff. We don't want to be that. It's totally unsustainable. We cannot continue this way. It is completely inverted. They own us. When I was doing, and I looked at doing some condo conversions a while ago, which is basically taking apartment buildings and turning them into condos, one of the biggest people that wanted to come in and finance were overseas. They would say, do what you need to do. How much do you need? Whereas you would go to an American bank and they would say, hey, fill out all this and we'll need 14 different studies and then we'll see if we can lend you the money. Whereas dealing with somebody from, I don't know, one of those other countries over there, they literally would say, send me a proposal, and then they would do their due diligence in about 7 days and say, we can close and we can get you 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million in about 30 days. They knew it wasn't as important as doing the due diligence on the property. Want me to tell you why? Because at that point, they couldn't buy this or that asset. But by being the lender of that asset, and if they ever had to foreclose or do whatever, then it's different. That was the big loophole. And so many foreign companies would offer, and they still do this. They will, hey, what do you need? I need 10 million to put up this complex. Okay, you come up with 2, we'll give you 8. 20%. And they would, no questions. I mean, right today, if I wanted a loan on a piece of property anywhere here in South Florida, I would send them a proposal, and they would say, hey, listen, okay, we say it's worth $1 million. We'll give you $800,000. We close in 30 days. You just come up with the other 200. Swear to God, I could do that tomorrow. I could literally do that tomorrow. There are a couple numbers I would dial overseas, and in 30 days, I'd have just about any amount I needed. And then there's people who acquired and did more real estate with me who could do 10 times that amount. Hey, I need $100 million to build this complex. Okay, you need 100, you come up with 10, 20, and if you come up with 20, we'll give you the rest. There's a reason why they call Miami the gateway to South America. And it's not just because we get so many people from South America. It's because the money that comes in, the sheer amount of foreign dollars that comes onto American soil every single day would blow your mind. That's why when you hear us say our debt's so high, that's because people are like, hey, we're just going to keep giving them money. And you want to know a lot of it? It's your money. Oh, that's where the brilliance of it is. You ship a whole bunch of money over to some kingdom in, I don't know, Latvia, and then the kingdom of Latvia forms a bank, and is the Bank of Latvia. And the Bank of Latvia is funded because the United States gave them money, and then the Bank of Latvia says, I'll give you a mortgage for $2 million with your own money. And that's what Canada and these tariffs are to do, is to stop all of this, to make us, as Scott Bessent said, be a sovereign, wealthy country. Turn that around, where we're the ones who control what's going on. Right now, we don't control our own destiny. Other people do. China can buy farmland. Everybody can come in and prosper on the backs of Americans because our government for so long has just looked the other way. No, Lori, don't be depressed. See, that's what I'm trying to show you is just the opposite. We have a president right now who's trying to shift it. And he's saying, you know what? We've been doling it out to all these other people. Why don't we make America prosperous? Why don't we make people here have money? You see, the more people here that are prosperous, the less it is the foreign entities coming in, especially if we're not giving them any money. Let's see. Is that how Pakistan brought that luxury hotel in New York, the one that we paid for the newcomers to come here? I don't know the specifics of that individual deal, but more than likely, it's really simple. I always, I've said to you guys many times on my videos here, and people are like, what are you talking about? And I said, if the numbers make sense, there's always money to fund a deal. That's what I mean. If the numbers make sense, the money's there. You find a deal, there's money's there. And so what you're seeing isn't something to be depressed about. It's to understand Trump is trying to correct it all. That's what it enthuses me, is that President Trump has realized he wanted to do it before and he got surrounded by snakes. Now he's like basically a I don't give an F mentality, and I'm going to fix this. And I'm going to fix it, and these people are fighting tooth and nail because they see what's about to happen. If he succeeds, if he succeeds, that's what he wants to do. And you're seeing people like Tim here, John, and how they're telling you it's these aren't foreign stats. Everybody knows these stats. They just don't tell them to you. They don't explain it to you how it works. Most people didn't know what a tariff was until like 4 or 5 weeks ago. And now you're hearing about tariffs, and what's the media do? Oh my God, not tariffs. You can't do tariffs. Why? Why wouldn't we charge that company over there if they want to come here? They're charging us. Nobody talks about what Canada charges us. I showed it before. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever heard it on the news. Do you know what Canada charges us? Here, you guys can answer that. I'll see if I can pull it up real quick because. Hold on. See if I can find it. Usually it can come up pretty quick. Let's see here. There was a chart that showed how much they charge us. Okay, here we go. I want to show you this, because you won't hear this on the news whatsoever. Canada imposes tariffs. Okay, here's what they do to us. With agricultural goods like dairy are much higher, up to 240%. Did you know this? Butter. Canada charges us 298%. Milk, 270%. Cheese, 245%. Chicken, 238%. Eggs, 163%, and on and on and on. Nobody talks about what Canada charges us, but they're freaking out because we're going to charge Canada. How in the hell is that equitable? Why would the media be so pissed off about us charging Canada? When this is well known, what they do to us. But they don't talk about that. They never let people see this. They never let people understand how unbalanced. So when President Trump says they've been ripping us off for years, this is what he's talking about. That's just produce. It has nothing to do with real estate, the World Bank of Canada, and how they're funding mortgages. Nobody talks about this stuff. And so now the media can get out there and lie and say, "Oh, we're going to hurt Canada, and you're going to pay more for eggs." You mean the eggs you're already paying 300% more for? You mean the milk that you're already paying 270% more? You mean that's how we're going to get hurt? Information is key. KRO says, though, MFers. Yeah. April 2nd, tit for tat. And that's what they're terrified about. Barry, how do we get that list? I tried and the charts were a pain to read. Who was this? Hold on, let me just go up to it. You know what? I'll go ahead. Here's what I'll do. I'll retweet that, and then you'll have that to look at. And then you can verify. You can probably even ask Grok. What does Canada tariff us? Yeah, and Alberta wants to double that, but they don't talk to us about that. They make you think that we're the bad people. Oh my God, why are you bad? America's so prosperous. Those people over there need our money. No, they don't. They've already gotten our money. They've already received it. Thank you for educating us, Barry. I just try to bring you information so you can hear from people that they're not showing you. And they can tell you, guys a lot smarter than me. Oh, yeah, we're upside. You saw Tucker's face. What? 23 trillion? Yeah, we're upside down. They own us. We don't own them. The greatest republics in history serve their people, but best have been small. Yeah. So somehow they figured out, we can do what we need to against Americans, and Americans are so stupid. Well, not so stupid, but they can be bought or they can be eliminated. See, that's the other thing with this, is go along with the program or else. And July 13th, we almost saw an or else. And I'm sure every single day, Donald Trump and Elon Musk meet with the or else. Every single day. Because we're talking so much money and power. But that's where we are today. So let me just tell you, join. I got to change this because we're at 16,000 now.
Hey, if you'd like to join 15,000 plus fellow patriots on X in our private X/Twitter group, go to fanfareshop.org/group. Just put in that URL in your browser. It'll take you right to our private group on X. Love to see you there. Let's share some content. And if you'd like to win a hoodie, or rather if you'd like to enter to win a hoodie, go to fanfareshop.org, fanfareshop.org, and register to win a Trump hoodie.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Yeah, we just went over 16,000 in our X group. I saw this comment. I wanted to say something about it. It says, no way I would park a Tesla on the street or wear a MAGA hat. A, depends on where you are. B, at this point, I almost think they hate Tesla and Elon more than they hate MAGA. I mean, I'll put on a hat, and I know I'm a bigger guy, but I don't have a problem. People wave at me, give me the tip of the hat, that kind of stuff. But I think the liberals are more pissed off at Elon because they look at Elon as though he's a turncoat. He was with them, and now he's no longer with them, and so it pisses them off. All right, let's give away a couple hoodies. Tommy Lawrence made a new, a new drum roll for me, but I didn't have time to download it yet, but I will definitely do that. Let's see here so you guys can see. Let's go ahead and get ready to give away some hoodies. People ask all the time if you've entered, do you have to enter again? And hold on a second, I've got to fix this. Wait a minute, I'm hoping I can do it. If not, I may have gone through our complete allotment. I may have to wait until tomorrow to do this. Wait a second. Hold on. If it lets me add more, I will. Yeah, I'm good. All right. Here we go. Yeah, you don't have to enter more than once. So if you've entered, you are good to go. And I upped it. Yep. Yeah, so here we go. Let me find the drum roll on here because where's the drum roll? Okay, here we go. Drum roll. First winner is Maria Roberts. Maria Roberts, you have won a free hoodie. Let's go with another one. Let's go with the drum roll, please. Drum roll. Dwayne Eastridge, you have won a free hoodie. And let's pick one more. Get ready to go. We're on the drum roll. There we go. Bam, bam, bam. And Maureen Trant, you have won a free hoodie. Again, we're going to keep doing that until probably the end of maybe around April 15th, and then we'll switch up and go to t-shirts because the hoodies will be too hot and people won't be wanting hoodies as much. They'll like the t-shirts even better. I think you'll like the t-shirts even better because they're got a couple designs that are going to be pretty cool. And now I want to recognize the super chats, if there are any in here, and because you never take for granted that people are doing super chats. Let me just go ahead here, move that over, and we are ready to go and get you guys out of here, and I can go take my medicine. Okay, we are ready. Here we go. Greg Yergin. Thank you, Barry and Fanfare Patriots. I've learned more about our government here than I've ever learned in school. Wow, thank you. And continue. Look up things when I tell you. And that way you can further your education. You don't have to take my word. I'll try to give you guys information to look up. Paddlefoot. No doubt in my mind that the last entire 4 years of Biden administration was run by anti-American criminals. What American-loving citizen could do that to those corrupt criminals did to this country? Absolutely. And which is also why they have to keep it. There's no way their scam could continue without continually raising taxes. So let me get back over here. So they have to keep raising taxes. Ryan, 24 trillion is a hell of a lot more than 12 trillion. Yeah, you got that right. Joy Kirkland, hey Barry, hope you get to feeling better. Thank you, but that 24 trillion would wipe out the majority of our so-called debt. Tilly, all I have to say is This Man in the Sky about Tom McDonald. Okay, I'll have to look up that song. I Am the Frogman. Barry, any thoughts on chemtrails? Can DJT stop it? I'm not the person to ask about chemtrails. The person who's got all the chemtrail information is sitting out there. Robin has dug into chemtrails deeply. When I opened her eyes and she took the red pill and one of the things she went into was the chemtrails. I never went there. I just never really dug really deep in it. But I'm gonna have to get her to start talking about that more. Maximus, I truly believe Trump is a national treasure and should be added to Mount Rushmore. I could go with that. Trumpinator, yo Barry, hello. Too late, skate by. Timing is everything. Epstein is for Roberts. Maybe it was a warning shot. Lupe Murillo, I'll buy Tesla stock, we'll buy gold and silver, but no Africa. Somalia, okay. I have to look at a map to see where the Congo is in relation to Somalia. I think it's pretty far away. Anya Garawi, thank you. Jose Brazil, the Congo was probably done quietly and someone in the swamp would tap into that money. Possibly. Lupe Murillo, they have security so they continue with the... Ooh, I can't say that, but I know what you mean. Sandra J.G. Thompson, Americans are afraid because they are taught what would Jesus do. But Jesus would not want Americans to be depleted. We can still give to others, but do it honestly and not to politicians. Well said. Extremely well said. I guess, very, very well said. There's nothing that prevents people from being as charitable as they want to be. And I hate when people try to throw that up to people, especially people who have money. Let them have their relationship with God. That's not something we have to worry about. But don't let anybody tell you that money is the root of all evil. That is a lie. That is a bold-faced lie. It's the love of money that says that in the Bible. It's a big distinction. Not enough people know it. All right, we'll see you tomorrow around noon. Let's see if anything's going on. But I hope you guys enjoyed tonight, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you for tuning in.
Can you talk about the discussions for a deal with your country?